You're tuned to the Sportcat Show.
That's right. You're tuned to the one, the only Sportcat. I'm here. Hello. Good evening, everyone. And we are live on, let me get all my buttons pushed here. All right. Hello, everybody. Let's get this thing going. My name is Sportcat. I am here tonight. We are doing the Paranormal Guys, now known as the Sportcat Show. That's why you got...
You're tuned to the Sportcat Show.
That's why you got that button. So there you go.
Viva la Sportcat. Sportcat Uberales. Vive la Sportcat.
There we go.
Go Sportcat.
There we go.
Fans everywhere love the Sportcat.
And I still don't know why. We are live on Dare Talk Radio in Australia. We're live on 4 channels on YouTube. But I need you to come to the main channel, the Paranormal Guys. Just search out the Sportcat shows. Hit that thumbs up button, that like, that subscribe, that notification bell, and get all the information about the Sportcat. You can go to Facebook. We have a group for Sportcat Daily Gazette, which is my Monday through Friday show. And then we have the total blank Sportcat Show, which you are more than welcome to join both groups. We share stuff in there. And, well, all right. So here we are. We are live tonight. We have Denise. Hello, Denise. Welcome. She's moderating on my channel and probably about 5 others. Thank you, Denise. And we have Chris, as always. That's right. Fans everywhere love the Sportcat. I still don't know why. I really don't. I'm trying to figure it out. So I have been notified that my co-host is having trouble getting in. I don't know why, but she's not backstage. I think she's on a work, what do you call it? A work mission, a work job. So she is out of state. So hopefully she can figure it out and get in here. We're waiting on Bjorn. He is our first guest for tonight. He is the 9 o'clock guest. Normally we have 2 guests, and the first one is from 9 till 10. The second is from 10 to 11. Make sure I'm doing my math right. Today is Wednesday, and it is 9 o'clock Eastern. Yeah, that's true. So I'm just going to hang out and wait on everybody and do my thing. I didn't get a chance earlier because I had some meetings with the fire department and stuff to catch up on and see if there was any more details. If you followed us in the afternoon show where we talked about Secretary of War Hegseth, his plane made an emergency landing, I didn't get any more update on that, and I haven't really followed anything else. So we will update that tomorrow, I'm sure, on our show, as well as all other shenanigans. I have no idea what else happened news-wise. After the show, I started recording my radio show. Long-term listeners know that I do a radio show Tuesdays and Thursdays on the Thin Line Rock Station from noon until 2. You can check that out. Go to thethinlinerockstation.com and tune in. Join the club on that as well. So you'll catch me there. I got some great music lined up. So I hope everyone will enjoy it. And then, of course, I'll be back tomorrow at our regularly scheduled time, 2 o'clock Eastern till 4 o'clock. So we'll go from there. So I sent out the link to everybody to come join the show. So hopefully they'll come. If they don't, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We will make it up as we go. So I don't know where Bjorn is usually on time. So I don't know where he is. I'll send him a thing in Facebook and remind him that it is tonight. So let's see, check my email, make sure I don't have anything. Nope, nothing there. So, all right. Well, we'll go over other news. Wendell and I were talking earlier. I'm going to try and get on his show so you can hear some of my shenanigans out in the woods with the big furry creature. And of course, I have ghost stories and stuff like that to tell as well. So I'll get hooked up and do Wendell's show. Any of you that follow us regularly know that Wendell is always in my chat, and where he is tonight. He might be doing his show. So, yeah, you can check it out. I'll be on his show, and I'm trying to get a paranormal white witch to come over and do the show. I've sent her an invite, so we'll try and get her on as well. And then I talked to our agent, and he's going to get us some more authors for the rest of this month and next. So we'll have a great lineup. Plus, he's got a lineup on some comic book people. So hopefully we can get some of them on. And I'm still trying to work on some musician friends. So it's getting into the holiday season where it's hard to get people to come in and do your show. So everybody wants to be with their family and stuff. And I get it. I do too. So days like today, I have I have been stressed and doing multiple things. There is Harley. Hello, Harley. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
So you're coming to us from a remote location. Where are you at?
Yes, it's incognito.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you're in Yankee country, so welcome. I'm glad you made it. Chris says, I want to start a show for people to be on. I can talk about everything that is worth seeing in Alice Springs and Lord Howe. Yes, Chris. Well, come on, Chris. Well, you can do it with me. So I still didn't. Chris needs to tell me. He can shoot me a message. He said he met Taylor Swift. I want to know how that works. So, oh yes. And for everybody that did forget or miss it, Harley is an old woman now. She's like 72. So happy birthday to Harley. So I don't have a. I
Not
need a happy.
72.
Okay, 71. So
And Dane might look pretty good for 71.
yeah, well, you know. That sounds Christmassy. There you go. Hey, Harley, we did a story on the on the Sportcat Daily Gazette about a big pumpkin that was blowing down the road in Parma, and Chris wants to know if that was close to you.
Yes, it was close to me.
Was it your pumpkin? Did your pumpkin?
No, it was not my pumpkin, but it was just a couple houses down from me.
Oh, so you could give us an inside track on what happened?
Not really, because I don't pay attention to my neighbors too much.
You're not helping me here, Harley.
I'm not that type of person. I'd rather stay to myself. And
yeah, well, that's kind of how I ended up doing this show. Everybody told me, go talk to yourself. And so I put a camera in front of me, and lo and behold, I have people messaging me from everywhere. So, yeah, I like to see Harley lasso a pumpkin. And I mean that in a plutonic way. Is that the right way? Plutonic? I don't know. So, and then during the day, my counterpart is now been Brenda. She's been coming on the news show and giving her 2 cents. So I have women to keep me in line on both shows, and they're not doing a good job.
yes.
I have been so busy today. I did the show. Well, my day started at 3 a.m. this morning. Mom called me, and she was screaming in my ear. I'm half awake. I got the CPAP on, and I'm like trying to wake up. I got like one eye open, and Mrs. Sportcat yelling, "Answer your phone!" I'm like, I'm trying. And Mom called, and she wasn't feeling well and was scared. And I think I did talk her into not calling an ambulance. So there was that, because I would have had to hopped in the car and been up there this morning. But she talked to her doctor. She's better now. So hopefully I won't have to go up there. But my day started at 3 a.m. this morning with people screaming in my ear that they were going to die. So
That's lovely.
Yeah. And then I was running late trying to get all the information for my show. And I was disorganized. And then I did that show.
Yeah, you didn't send any information on our guest tonight to us till today.
Actually, I did.
Right before the show.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. They're not here. So.
Well, maybe you should resend them the link, because the link that I got from that email, it kept saying logging in.
Well,
it wouldn't let me go into the show.
Well, I'm pretty sure I did. I sent it to him in Facebook, so I will send it again to make sure that is the right one. And I don't know. I can't read this thing, so. There we go. I sent it again. So Bjorn is usually pretty good. I messaged him on Facebook too, because he's a friend of mine. He does some really cool books, and he's been a great friend to the show for a while. So he's always fun to have on. He's got well, let's see, which was his book coming out? Outside the Man, I can't pronounce any of these. Outside the Allspar. Yeah, there you go. So he's got that, and he's got some other tales. I wrote a story too, but nobody reads it. So Actually, that's not true. I did have a couple people read it, so
What is that? What you sent me the other day?
yeah, that was me. Yeah,
That was pretty good. I
yeah.
really liked it.
I think I'm gonna take some parts out. I've got some critiques, so I think I'm gonna take some parts out. But that wasn't even chapter 1. It was kind of like chapter 3, maybe. I got to get to that point.
I liked it, so
Yeah. So, hey, there's Wendell. Wendell, we were talking about you a minute ago. We were saying I needed to get on your show, so we need to work at a time. So, Wendell is in the
that's on
chat.
Wendell's show, even though I don't talk paranormal.
Well, you can talk about anything on Wendell's show.
So, on the 26th, the new Welcome to Derby TV series, the It spinoff of like the TV series, comes out
Okay. You'll have to
on HBO.
Ah,
It's like the backstory of it, of Pennywise, how he became Pennywise,
okay.
and
All
they
right.
made it into a TV series.
I saw they're doing another Disney series on Wonder Man. Who the hell is Wonder Man?
I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. And I'm like, well, I probably won't be watching that one. So, Wendell, man, I'll tell you what. Wendell says, whenever
What's
I have
time?
Yeah. Today, like I said, I've been on here all day doing something, one way or the other. I've been on the radio, in a meeting, doing a show, recording a show. I've been busy today, so my day will end about 2 a.m, and hopefully it won't be another phone call. Denise, Wonder Woman's husband. No, it's not, because Wonder Woman is DC. This is Marvel. So I have no idea who it is. So I'll probably watch it. I haven't watched the new season of Peacemaker.
I've started that, and I'm on like season. How many seasons is there of that?
I think there's only 2, maybe 3.
I don't know. I've started it.
Chris says, my meeting Taylor Swift story is pretty tame. I saw her play with George Strait and Ronnie Millsap in 2007 when she was like 17. She signed CDs and met people after her set. She is really personable. She did a thing for WIVK in Knoxville when she was up and coming, and a lot of people I know met her there. So, yeah, she's really personable from what I hear. So, I have not met her. I've met Lady Gaga, but there you go. I have that. Ricky Skaggs. You're trying to get Ricky Skaggs on your show. Well, good luck. He's probably going to be hard to get. Some of the A-listers, man, they will jerk your chain. I'm not going to say anything because they might one day tune in and listen, but sometimes you get them booked, get them scheduled, and the week before they cancel. It's so frustrating. So, and what's even more frustrating is if you build up a show and then they cancel and you've already put it out. That's even more frustrating. So,
Didn't we have a guest do that here recently?
We've had a couple do that. And then I've been ghosted by 1 or 2. So, and then I have others that send messages to their agents and tell them I don't do my show right.
Okay.
My reply back to that was, well, there's a reason that it's my show because I do it my way.
Then you have the ones you get in a fight with and then they don't come back.
But hey, I had the flu. I can't help that. I will message them back. I'll give that one time to cool off because you said I was not going to, but you said that it was inspirational for you. So I will do that.
The book was really, really good. It really was.
I read parts of it. To be honest, I didn't read the whole thing, so I read parts of it.
Well, one of the characters, her name's Jennifer, and what's the word? I see myself in Jennifer because of a lot of what Jennifer has gone through in the book. I tend to go through.
Okay. I'll have to look that one up. I don't remember which one she was. That was the one I related to.
Jennifer was the one who felt she could never do anything right and she wasn't good enough. and her husband divorced her and left her with the kids. Well, my husband hasn't divorced me, but sometimes I wish he would.
Hey, might have some listeners out
That's
there.
a different story.
Might have some listeners out there who want to meet you.
I don't know.
You never
But
know.
so she is raising her children on her own and feels like she'll never be good enough.
Well, okay then. You are good enough, Harley. So you're good enough for me, and for whatever that's worth to you, and Wendell.
That means a lot.
Maybe Chris too. I don't know. So, and I certainly
See,
know.
I'm kind of sad. I ordered me Burger King tonight because I still have fat girl brain, and then I couldn't even eat one of my sandwiches.
So you bought more than you could eat.
Yeah, but I'll eat it tomorrow. So before I go to the airport.
You're coming home tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were up there until sometime next week. Okay.
No, I'm only been here from the 13th through the 16th.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going. I thought you went up early for next week, is what I thought. So, see there. That's how educated I am about your schedule. So,
I wish it could have been longer, but no. I couldn't take that long off work.
Chris says, I see my signed debut CD from Taylor that I donated to my old church rummage sale, selling for $2,000 now on eBay. Yeah, I'm sure Casey's not happy about that. Yeah. So
I wouldn't be.
Yeah. Sometimes though, you hang on to stuff that you probably don't need to. I've got a whole basement at Mom's house like that. I've got all of my dad's old, when he was a disc jockey, they used to send promo albums out to people to get them to play it on their station. And I couldn't tell you how many boxes of pressed vinyl songs from musicians for promotional copy only WXRA, which was a station in Virginia. I don't know what to do with them. I'm sure they're probably worth something, but to me, it might just be worth cleaning them out. Now, if anybody wants to, I can tell you a good cause. Our buddies over at the Thin Line Rock Station are growing. And with music royalties the way they are, they have to own a physical copy of the CD in order to play the music now under the new laws. So if you have CDs you are no longer using, we can send them to the Thin Line Rock Station and they will play them. I've got boxes I'm going to send to them because most of it's now on digital. So. But yeah, under the royalty laws, they have to own a hard copy. I can't imagine their what would you call it? Their record room, I guess. Their CD room is going to be huge. So yeah, if anybody wants to hit me up, I'll give you the info to get to them. They will gladly take the copy so they can play it. Because I've come across some stuff and I'm like, can I play this? And they're like, I don't own that. I'm like, can you find it? So it's just really weird because you would think, now I don't know how it is in Australia because I know Dare Talk Radio or Radio X plays all kinds of music. They've got a country, they've got a rock station, they've got an oldie station. I don't know how the laws are over there, but they're weird here that you have to own the disc. So
that's weird.
I was trying to talk them into, and if they're listening, I would like to be able to do the same thing that I do in a Thin Line Rock Station, except I'd like to do a country show, just all country music, nothing, because there's stuff at the Thin Line Rock Station, of course, is rock and pop. They let me play a little bit of blues, and sometimes we get carried away and play some other things too. But I'd like to do just an all country show over there on Dare to our Radio X Country. So I've been hinting. So
Gotta turn on the fan. It's hot in here.
I would turn on the fan here, but it would make way too much noise. So did he get, what's this? Chris says, did he get all the promo CDs with the hole punch through the UPC so they couldn't be sold? This was before that. This is 45s. And what's the bigger size? 78? The larger size, the full size. So most of them are 45s though. So I don't even have a way of playing them. I even found some old, I was going through some stuff last time, some old reel-to-reel stuff. And I think that was it's probably military and I shouldn't have it. But hey, I can't play it, so it doesn't matter. The CIA can come find it.
Like they can have it. It don't work.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Here, take this. So I don't want to be like Glenn Beck, though. He got a visit from the FBI. They came and sat in his living room for 2 hours about one of the shows he did. I don't want to be that guy. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind telling the story, but I don't want to be that guy to get in that position.
Yeah.
My shows are simple and easy, except for when the guests don't show up, and then, well, they're not. So,
And there's no reason why they didn't show. They just didn't show.
it happens. I mean, we could have got dates confused. They could have, I don't know. Their agent will be upset, but that's on them, not me. So I can't fix it all. I can look and see though. I did find a neat tool, and since I know you don't watch the news show, you won't. It's gonna crash, isn't it? No, come on. It's kind of cool. You can look and see.
No, it's not that I don't watch the news shows. It's the fact that it's on while I'm working normally.
We'll stop working. Come on. So
Yeah, I wish I could do this and get paid to do this.
I am working on it.
Hello, Monica.
Hey, Monica. Welcome. And by the way, I guess I should say we are broadcasting on Harley's channel, which is the Joker in Asylum. And
The Asylum with Harley and Joker.
And that's what I said. And then we're on Brenda's page, Outside the Box. And then, of course, my
Let's
regular
not
page.
give complete credit to Joker here.
Well, you won't fire him, so I'm stuck with you. So
You say that like it's a bad thing.
what? That I'm here with you? No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. How do I fix this? No, that wasn't.
So did you ever find out about the sponsor possibly?
Yes, I just haven't had a chance to read the email. They have agreed to sponsor us. I don't have any of their products yet. I wanted to try them before we did that, but it's an energy drink company. Hold on, I'll pull it up here and
That
tell
is
you.
awesome.
And it's a natural energy drink company. I'm gonna have a link where anybody can go and purchase them at a discount, and we will get credit for them. Let's see here. Where I know I got this in my email. I got 10 million emails. People says that doing a show is easy. It's not easy. Dubby Energy, Dubby Energy. That will be our new.
That's awesome. I've actually tried their energy drink before.
Really? Okay. Well,
Yes,
there you go.
I had actually bought a thing of it, and they're awesome.
Okay.
It doesn't give you that jittery feeling that most energy drinks do.
Ah, okay. Cool. Wendell says he doesn't see Monica, but she's not on screen, Wendell. So
Well, she's probably in a different chat.
yeah, she's probably on one of the other two. Like I said, I'm on your page and I'm on Wendell's page. Not Wendell's page, Jesus. I'm on Brenda's page, my page, and this page. So, and I need to stop doing that so that I can get my numbers up on just the one page. So I'm going to get everybody hooked in and make them come to my page. How about that? I'm trying to find, well, I've got it. I just haven't got it pulled up. And let's see here. Hold on. I can do this. Share screen. I do this every day.
They make some pretty awesome flavors.
I know. I was looking at them. Thank you.
Because I get emails from them all the time that they wanted to sponsor me.
Yeah, I got an email, and
But I never
ignored them.
actually followed through with it.
Well, I ignored them, and somebody from their company emailed me back and was like, "Hey, are you serious about this? We'd like to help you out." And I'm like, whatever. You're probably a scammer, because I get a bunch. Oh, trust me, I get.
Well, that's what I thought too.
I get so many. So I was like, I'm not gonna.
Stop confusing you. Who's confusing you, Denise?
Well, Brenda says that, or Denise says that we're on too many pages, but she's the moderator on my main page. So, but yeah, no, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get everybody hooked, and then I'm gonna make them only come to one page. So I'm trying to get this to work so I can show you my new toy that once we get some money coming in, dang it, I want to use this on the show regularly. This is no, dang it. Now let me see here. How do I make it bigger? Oh, too big. This is all the military planes that are up and in action and moment that are talking. And so I want to use this for the show. And we see, hey, look, there's some people down in South America. Wonder what's going on down there. But what's
crazy.
Really, well, here's what's crazy. What most people don't realize. And you see these up here? These are balloons. Well, that's not a balloon. No, that's a balloon right there. 90,000 feet, right over the middle of the country, listening to everything it can. So if you were talking on your cell phone or sending texts or whatever, that bird up there, well, that one there has got the East Coast covered. And there's another one over here at 90,000. It's got the middle of the country covered. And they are just listening in on everything they want. So Chris says,
I need to make Denise the moderator for the asylum too.
Do it. She says, I have no self-control, so I have no ability to.
Well, Chris said that.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Because I get weird, creepy people who come
I
on the
encourage
asylum.
weird, creepy people. So
I don't mind the weird people. It's when they're making inappropriate comments that I don't like.
Yeah, there are those people. Yep, there are those. And so here you see, I'm trying to get this set. I'm still learning this. So here's one right here. This one is pretty much at 90,000 feet, right over, where'd it go? Right over the center of the country. And I can't paint a ring, but just imagine there's a ring on the ground there of how high up it is as to what it can hear at that altitude. And here's another one over here in the West Coast at 80,000 feet that's just hanging out there. And basically anytime you pick up your phone and use it, send a text message, or you're using data, it's going through that. And that's what I want people to understand is our free country comes with freedoms. Like for instance, so here, this is a perfect example. There's one right there at 90,000 in the center of the country. Here's another one at 80,000 over the Ohio Valley. And here's no, that's a plane. That's not. Disregard. There's another one over there. But there's basically 4 up at all times, and they're monitoring there's another one over the Midwest at 80,000. And we go out here, and boom, there's one off of the West Coast at 83,000. I can't find the one on the East Coast at the moment, but yeah, they are listening to everything. They can hear our show if they want to from that altitude. It's going across somebody. If they're listening to it on their phone, they can tune in and listen to it with us. So, but yeah, it's very, very odd that they have up there's 1, 2, 3, 4. They're pretty much all of the country is covered. So this is a note for the 90,000 foot balloon. Well, hopefully someone's listening that they're tuning in. So there was one off of Key West earlier. I saw that. Oh, yeah, I got to get used to this program. And once I get used to it, it's pretty cool because you can filter it out and see. I mean, well, you think we're being monitored. Hold on a minute. Let's swing over here to Europe. And, whoa, let's keep it going north. It's like flying a plane. And look over here in Europe, how much they're being monitored. They are all over the place in Europe. They got them everywhere. And you get over towards Asia, once again, they're up there too. So they're not as high in those countries because of their restrictions with flight. That's why they put them at 90,000. So Monica says the more, the merrier. That's right. So Yes, everybody, please come over to my channel and subscribe, share, follow. Normally, it's a little more lively than this, but we're just kind of hanging out at the moment, and I'm just playing with this software, trying to figure it out. I like the other one though better because you can do it. Well, I mean, I guess you can on this. I just haven't learned it yet. You can make them larger and zoom in and see who's what. It's a little confusing that way. Oh, but yeah, you see, yeah, you can see. Well, as we talk about during the show daily, there's a lot of flights down here in the Gulf of America because they do training. So you see all those flights there in helicopters. They're all in the air training right now. They're using our taxpaying dollars. So, hey, in case they're needed, let them. Monica asked, what is the name of my show? You can find it by searching up the Sportcat shows, or you can go to the Paranormal Guys with a Z. Paranormal Guys with a Z, and find it there. So, but I guess
Monica, which channel are you watching it on?
I think she is one of our new followers on Brenda's show. And I messaged Brenda earlier to see if she was going to be around since I was going to be on her show, and she never answered me. So she might be busy. I know earlier she wasn't feeling well, so because she wasn't going to come on, then she felt sorry for me and decided she would. So yeah, I definitely want to learn this because this is so much more powerful than the one that is free. So I want to learn this one, and I'm probably going to pay for it just because.
Dang, your show earlier had 20 views on the asylum.
Yeah, we're growing. We're growing. People are checking this out. So.
And we got one watching on.
Chris says if there were a woman in short skirt and thong riding mechanical bulls drunk, this would be a misfit show. Funny you say that. That's the one that got kicked off of. I got the letter from the attorney. That show got. I didn't argue it. I just let it go. And I've been having calls for people wanting to reunite the Misfits and do it on the Australian channel since we're not so restricted. But I'll be honest, I love the show. I love the characters, but that show is so hard to manage and so hard to keep people every week coming on and trying to keep a subject. And it was just too
I think I was on that show, wasn't I?
You were on towards the end. Yeah. It was fun. Thank you, Monica. I appreciate that. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but trying to do the Wednesday night show, the Saturday night, and then doing a daily show, I just couldn't herd all the cats. And so I had to let something go. And since they weren't always showing up and I couldn't keep people around, I was like, we're just going to end this one when the FM contract expired. Now, I did just allow Radio X and Dare Talk Radio. They are replaying the old shows. I don't know what the schedule is, though. So of course, you can go find them all on YouTube. They're on my channel. So, but yeah, I've been getting a lot of requests for it to come back, and I just don't think I can. Chris says, I love that show. I did too, but it was highly stressful for me as a producer, especially when we were on FM. Oh my God. Trying to mute people and then go back and edit. Yeah, it was impossible. It was impossible. All right, I'll get this off the screen because nobody cares. But I'm just playing with it at this point. That's what she said. So yeah, it may come back. I don't know. And if I could find somebody in law enforcement, I would like to do on Friday nights and Saturday nights after On Patrol is on.
We're allowed to talk college football.
Yes, we can talk college football here. So Tennessee plays Alabama, and I haven't really gotten into Bobby yet, though. I need to. So because I'm still trying to figure
Ohio State's still up there.
Are they undefeated?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I can't figure out how Alabama is ranked 6th. I don't see it. And we're ranked like 11th. Of course, Georgia, they're ranked like 2nd.
Oklahoma's usually ranked good, but I think they're not so great this year because Texas Longhorns beat them.
got beat by a Manning.
You know,
Yeah, the little Manning. I don't even know his first name. So Chris says Indiana is ranked third. Well, all right. Is that your team, Chris? In the NFL, my Tennessee Titans, their coach was fired unexpectedly. They're like, yeah, we're done. Get out. I think this was his first season. It wasn't.
Well,
It
no, be
wasn't maybe
nice.
his second. So. Oh, there's Wendell. He says no one cares about sports or Big Brother. Oh, that's not true. That's not true. There's got to be some
We
diversity.
had quite a few people watching our Big Brother stream when we had it.
Yes, well, we did. And when Big Brother comes back, which it signed up for next season, we will have a show next season. And it was very popular in Australia. I was told that they were getting like 2,000 listeners. I'm like, why? What did I do?
We talked Big Brother.
Yeah. So I still don't understand. And if anyone from Australia wants to shoot me a message and let me know what is it? Why do you like this show? Why do you like us? I just don't get it. So
What's so special about us?
I don't know. I need a psychiatrist to come on and tell me what's about myself.
I don't think we'd like what a psychiatrist would say about us.
No, probably not. Well, the one show where I had my moment was behind a paywall, and the psychic actually had me crying. So I wish that was not behind a paywall, because that was probably the best interview anyone has ever done of me, and it will not happen again. I can tell you that it will not happen again. I had my moment. What the hell was that? I had my moment, though. Penn State is paying their newly fired coach $48 million not to coach anymore. Wow. I wish I had that job. How do you get that job? How do you, they got fired because they weren't producing, but $48 million to stay at home. Sign me
Want
up.
that money?
Yeah,
Okay.
sign me up. So I haven't gotten
Well, Ohio
any.
State is number one right now.
Yeah. Who cares? So.
They're 6.5.
Tennessee is ranked 11th, and Alabama is 6th, and that bothers me to my soul. That bothers me. I cannot stand Alabama being ranked higher than Tennessee.
Dang, Oklahoma's ranked 14.
Yeah, they've played some good teams. So, well, Wendell, since you don't,
They're
want to
5. See, they're 5-1, and the only team they lost to was Texas Longhorns.
well, it's a good team to lose to. You lost to a Manning, an overrated Manning, as was Peyton. So, yes, I'm a Tennessee fan, and I'm not a Peyton Manning fan. Sorry, at me at Sportcat. I don't care. So, Wendell says that nobody cares about sports. Well, a lot of the people that listen to me regularly have heard most of my Bigfoot stories, or most of my stories out in the woods. So that's why I don't usually repeat them. I've had some weird experiences. So little Arch, yes, Arch Manning. So never met. Well, that's not true. I had a run in with Peyton while I was working in EMS in Knoxville, but I'll leave it at that. So I just did not like the way he treated the people around him.
But that's most sports people, and
not all. There's quite a few good ones. I didn't like The Rock. I liked The Rock until I had to work hand in hand with him, but then I didn't like him. So
okay, so I've met Baker Mayfield, and I've met Samar J.P. Ryan, and Baker Mayfield's an asshole.
Doesn't surprise me.
But Samar J.P. Ryan is not. He was at this little diner I worked at in Oklahoma when they played for OU.
Mm-hmm.
And his mama came with him. It was on a Sunday morning. And him and his mama tipped the waitress really, really good. And they were the most sweetest people I've ever met.
Yeah. So, I mean, some athletes are. And
but Baker Mayfield was all big in his head and didn't tip the waitress a damn thing.
How do you not be making that kind of money and not tip I mean, shit, at least give 20%. Come on.
Well, this is when he was playing for OU.
Oh, well, he was getting paid then too. They don't like to admit it.
But he still didn't tip the waitress anything.
Yeah, that's not right. So I'm not a fan of that. So, but yeah, I've met some really great sports athletes that were exceptional. You know, I had one that's a Super Bowl champion quarterback. I can't name his name. He was severely injured here in Atlanta at a college bowl game, if anybody wants to figure it out from there. And I was on the field right in the middle of, it wasn't the new stadium we got now. It was the old Falcon Stadium. And I was like, guys, we need to go. And they're like dicking around. And I'm like, no, we got to go. He's sicker than you all have figured out. There's 3 doctors here, like 5 sports therapists. We got to go. I need him in my truck and on the way to the hospital like 10 minutes ago. And the doctor looked at me and said, what do you see? And I just pointed to it. I like I said, I can't say. And he's like, oh, shit. And I'm like, yeah, we got to go. We got to go now. And I have never seen at that point in time when they realized the severity of his injury, so many people. And when we got into the back of the ambulance, he was so big because we couldn't take some of his gear off. He was so big that he almost didn't fit in the back of the ambulance. It was crazy. And then there was doctors and everybody screaming at me. I'm like, no, this is my world. Y'all listen to me. So, yeah, he sent me a letter later and thanked me. Actually, I think I got his card up here, signed card up here, thanking me. So he was a good guy. So,
I mean, they're not all bad. It's only the ones who got big in their head.
He's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, but still, some of them are still humble.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, I mean, like my interactions with Lady Gaga, nothing but a sweet person, very kind. Mayfield got knocked down to earth after he got the Progressive Insurance commercial. Yeah, when he was drafted and shit the bed with the Browns. So he's doing good with Tampa. That might just be what he needed.
They didn't do completely bad with him there. They did better with him there, but he's still like, okay, when he played for Oklahoma and he came to Ohio State, his little cocky ass put Oklahoma's flag in the middle of Ohio State's big O on the field. And that was kind of rude.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's some that are great. One of the saddest calls I ever ran was a country and western star, older, obviously. And we were bringing him home. He was in hospice. And we were bringing him home. And when we landed at the airport, there was a crowd of people, friends, family, and stuff around him. And he asked, while he was in the back of my ambulance, if he could perform. And I was like, sure. And he sang his hit song. I think they had this planned. His manager had showed up with a boombox with a CD of just the music, not the lyrics. And that was probably one of the best, saddest calls I ever ran. And he was a hell of a guy. So I was glad to get him home. Kenny Rogers. Don't know him. I didn't meet him. Met Willie. Willie wouldn't remember it, but
I know he don't probably remember anything from the
I kept Willie from getting arrested. So
him and Snoop Dogg both don't remember much.
Snoop Dogg I've run into here in Atlanta, so he's pretty cool.
He's got that cooking show with Martha Stewart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of them are really cool. Being a medic, I've gotten to meet so many of them, and some of them are cool, some of them are jerks, but they got a job to do just like I do. So I ran, Janet Jackson had an automobile accident in Atlanta. And when I asked her to sign, I didn't know who it was at first because I hadn't followed her. And when she signed it, I saw her last name. I said, "Hey, you're kin to me." And she looked at me kind of funny. And I said, I'm the 6th one. I'm the white one. And she started laughing. So, so yeah, Some of them are pretty cool, and some of them, like I've run into, and I didn't have a clue who they were until later. So,
Well, that was me with some RJP right now. I had no clue who he was until someone told me.
I had a wrestler at one of the WWE, whatever the hell they were, SmackDown or something. It was in Atlanta, and they called me down there, and he was having some serious cardiac issues, and he wanted to go out there, and I was the one that had to tell him no. He did not like me at all. He was very large and intimidating. And I said, look, dude, you're going to go out there, you're going to die. You'll be a legend, but you're going to die. I said, so yeah, I wouldn't do it if I was you. So, and we got him right to the hospital before his heart attack, like moments before his heart attack.
What's that? Triple H.
Here's the funny part. I didn't know who it was at the time. He was a very large named athlete. He was. I just didn't follow wrestling, so I didn't know him. And
Well, that's the one that can't wrestle no more, because if he does, he'll die because his heart will explode. That's why he's a big boss now.
You're correct. You are correct. Is really? So am I the one that told him no, he couldn't do it anymore? Did it happen in Atlanta?
I don't know.
Okay, because yeah, it was a big name athlete. A wrestler. I don't remember which one it was, but I told him, I said, if you go out there, you'll die. You're literally you're coked out. I mean, you're hyped out of your mind right now. So he says he's friends with BJ Thomas's wife, as in BJ and the Bear. I don't know who BJ Thomas is. The wrestler, Harley. You probably don't have a clue who BJ and the Bear is. Okay, trivia question. Anyone listening, do you know who BJ and the Bear is? Anyone? So, Chris says Paul Leviscu. I don't. I'll take the fifth. Don't know, Chris. I don't know his real name. So, he says no, the singer. Well, all right. Paul Leviscu. I got to Google that because I don't know who that is. I'm still checking my email and I don't have anything. So this might be an incredibly boring show, just being you sitting here talking. So we can do it, Harley. We can do it. So
yes.
Oh, he says that's Triple H's real name. Okay. All right. Well, see, there you
they
go.
made a big, they had a big thing with him here recently. Him and Stephanie was on the beach for a family vacation. Yeah.
Okay.
And paparazzi was taking pictures of him because he's been retired from wrestling for a little while now. Because if he wrestles, he could die. And so they took pictures of them, and he was in his swimming trunks, and they made a big deal about it.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know if that ended his career. I doubt that was me, but a doctor would have had to have done that. But I told him he was done for that night, and he didn't like it.
Oh, that's probably very well who it was.
Here we go. I'll give you a hint, Harley. I'm drawing up another screen here. Wendell is the only one to know this, so Wendell's showing his age as well. Let's see here. Understand. Let's go. Yes, entire screen. Go. Oh, I hit the wrong button. You'd think I know how to do this by now. Entire screen. Yes. Yes. Share. And no, it is not. Before anybody says it is not Optimus Prime. It's BJ and the Bear. You don't know who they are, do you? You don't have a clue.
No, that's before my time.
Oh, man, that's a shame. And it did just hit me that is Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
That is Generation 1 Optimus Prime. They should go back and remake that. Have BJ and the Bear, but it's really BJ the Bear in a Transformer. Maybe I'll add that to my book. I am not seeing anything in my emails. I'm not seeing. All right, we're just going to roll with it. Because we have 2 hours of radio we have to fill, Harley.
Yay.
We can do it. We can do it. I wish I could play music on here. God. Wendell says, older than everything we use today. Wendell, did your first car have an 8-track in it? Wait a minute. Harley, do you
Is
know
that
what
the
an
one
8-track
with the
is?
little things, like the little things you put into the?
We
like-
got to be a little more specific.
They're like squares, not the cassettes, but
Okay,
the
not the
bigger,
Yes.
the
You put
bigger
it in.
ones.
Yeah, you put it in. It's a big square thing. You put it
Square,
in,
yeah.
and you ka-chunk.
I know what they
Yeah.
are, but I've
Yeah.
never used one
I think I
because
had
I was
one.
at the end of like cassettes into CDs.
Okay. What? This is true. Nobody remembers their first record they ever bought. Do you remember the first CD you ever bought?
The first CD, I
Yes.
remember my first cassette I bought.
Okay. What was your first cassette?
It was New Kids on the Block.
New Kids on the Block. Okay. Well,
My first CD, it was Hanson.
I don't remember my first CD. I mean, my first cassette. My first CD was Born in the USA by The Boss. So Chris says, I went to college with a guy who met Potsy from Happy Days one time and said he was a total ass. He never let it go and hated Potsy from that day on. It was a weird deal.
And I did buy a record too, because my uncle had, well, my grandparents had my uncle's old time. It was like those big ones, is like the size of this TV stand here.
You talking about, the record player. Yeah.
Yeah, they had his from when he died, and like the top lifted up, and the record player was inside of it.
Mhm.
And I did buy a record for that.
No. Well, vinyl's coming back. So,
It was Elvis.
Elvis. Oh, not an Elvis fan. So
But I'm a big, like, mine is, I was born in the wrong generation of music because I like Elvis and the Beatles and Fleetwood Mac and the Mamas and Papas and the Monkees.
you're going way
Like,
back.
I was
there.
born in the wrong generation of music.
Yeah, I was raised on country since my dad was a country and western disc jockey. I didn't find
But
rock
we
and
did
roll
a lot
until
of
later
older
in-
country too.
Wendell says the album from BJ Thomas, Somebody Done Something Wrong. Okay, there you go. I don't remember my first. Actually, I don't know that. I think my first cassette would have probably been like Def Leppard, Pyromania, probably. My first. Actually, I do remember a vinyl. I had a Kiss. Oh gosh, what is the name of the album? It's gonna drive me crazy. That might have been the first album I ever bought. I gotta look it up now because I want to know. Kiss albums. And let's go to images. Was it Destroyed? No. Rock and Roll All Over. That was the first album I think I bought. Kiss, Rock and Roll All Over. When did that come out? God, that's old.
That's a good album, Chris. It's been
Which one? Oh, Conway Twitty.
Hello,
Yeah.
Darling by Conway Twitty. I grew up with that old country like that.
Me too. That was 1976. Good Lord. I had it. That was that. I think that would have been the first album. So,
Well, I wasn't even thought of in 1976, but my grandparents raised me, so I listened to a lot of old
I had
music.
trying to think. My first car that I bought to work on in high school was it was a Volkswagen Fastback, but it had 2 carburetors and it sucked. I can't remember the year. It was emerald green, and keeping that thing in
First
rhythm
car
with 2
that I
carburetors.
paid for, but that I never drove was a Mazda MX-6.
1984 Ford Mustang LX was the first one I bought. As far new car, as far as me, but I had a couple beater cars and trucks before that. But yeah, my first car that I actually owned was I want to say it was like a 67 Volkswagen Fastback. It was old. And
In my travel silverware, isn't it? pretty.
It is pretty. And keeping that stupid thing in time. I ended up burning it up. Long story short, but there was a girl in the back seat, and I'd never had a backseat rider prior to this, and apparently in the ones at that era, you were supposed to put a inner tube over the batteries, because when the back seat went in, the spring would sit on the battery. And she kept yelling at me, I've got a hot ass. My ass is hot. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And then I realized, oh, it was really hot. The car was on fire. Yep, I burnt that one up. George Jones, He Stopped Loving Her Today is classic. Heard Elvis sing it and said it was the saddest song he'd ever heard. So No Show Jones. Yeah, No Show Jones. Jeffrey says, I am on when you're ready. Okay, well, I don't see you backstage, Jeffrey, if you could hear me.
It's probably doing the same thing I did when I tried to get on, where it kept saying logging in and kept just spinning. Because I sat there from like 45 after till you sent the new link.
Well, I think Jeffrey can hear us, but I don't see him backstage. So when I send him the link again, maybe the internet's just wonky tonight. Maybe it's from my day show. Wendell says he got a 68 Ford Gran Torino with a 351 Cleveland. Gran Torino. The Gran Torino wasn't the one that had the pickup back, was it? No, that was Ranchero. That's the one that I want to buy and restore, is a Ranchero. We were talking tonight at my fire association meeting about a fire truck that we may be trying to either buy or sell. It's like a 27 Alf, I think. It's an old fire truck. It still runs, but it's going to need a couple things, and you need somebody that knows what they're doing. And that is definitely not me. I have to find a mechanic, so I'm not good at that. So this show is going to suck for WRFN. I could just sense that. WRFN likes it when we talk about paranormal stuff. Not that they don't mind us talking, but they like to keep us in check. Wendell says, I know
we don't have anything to talk about.
Well, I've always got stuff to talk about. Well, hit me up, Wendell. No, I don't need a fire truck. I don't need a fire truck. No, Mrs. Sportcat will kick me out. What is going on? I don't see him backstage either. I sent him the link again, and if he can hear me, I didn't just kill the whole show, did I? No, I didn't. Thank God. I thought I hit the wrong button. Well, Bjorn is obviously not coming, so don't know what happened there. I hate that because I really like him, but we'll get him back. And so hopefully he can figure out the backstage, or maybe, I don't know, if Jeffrey can figure it out. Chris said, I would sing George Strait the Fireman when I was hammered at karaoke back in the day. Oh, Lord. I never sang that song. So I may have used that as a pickup line, but I never sang that song. Yeah, I never did karaoke. I did, what was the game where you played the Guitar Hero? I did do that some.
Yeah.
No, Wendell, I've sent him the old link, the new link. I've sent every link. So I don't know. I don't know. This will go down as one of my best, worst shows. So we got you here. So when are you leaving again? Tomorrow and coming home?
Yeah.
Okay. What time?
I'm home tomorrow. I leave. My flight should be back in Ohio at 4:00
in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have to send me the flight info. We'll trail you again on the show and stalk you as you're flying, like we did today with Pete Hegseth. We knew right where he was. So we had him lined up. He was the breaking news when we went live. Wendell says, I sent the wrong link. I didn't send the wrong link. How can I send the wrong link? This is why I don't like sending the link in advance. Because sometimes for no reason of mine, it changes. And then it's gone from there. It's totally gone. So Jeffrey said he was backstage. I don't see him. I don't know.
Well, I thought I was backstage too.
Could you see me and hear me?
Nope.
Huh. Okay.
It just did the whole logging in thing.
Weird. Well, maybe the internet is having problems tonight. Either that or maybe we were going to talk about some really cool UFO alien stuff. Oh, wait a minute. All right. So let me do this properly here so I don't get in trouble with another agent. Long-awaited print editions are finally available of Against All Odds. It's Grimm's War Book War Book number 1. USA Today best-selling author Jeffery Haskell is returning with a huge military science fiction novel of epic proportions, and he has blessed us here tonight. Let's bring him out here and welcome Jeffrey.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so sorry. I clicked on the wrong link, and that's all my fault. And I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. We had earlier had some technical issues, and so I was like, oh, I hope it didn't kick you out. But no, we're glad.
No, I was sitting on a black screen on another link, and they're like, oh, where are they? They must be running late.
Yeah, there's another podcaster waiting on you over there. So.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I love talking about books and mine in particular, but books in general and sci-fi. And so it's really nice of you guys to have me on here.
Hey, we're glad you're here. They were just listening. I don't know if Bjorn didn't get the email or what, but Harley and I were just sitting here BSing our way through the first hour. So we're glad.
Oh no, the other guy didn't show up.
No,
sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We don't hold it against him.
Well, you can ask me all his questions.
Oh, that's true. Well, first thing, you're a USA Today best-selling author. How in the heck does that happen? How many hundreds of thousands do you got to sell?
Well, actually, you'd be surprised at how little you have to sell to hit some of those metrics. So when I got that, I was an indie author. So I'm published by Aethon Books, which is also Aethon Vault, which is who publishes Against All Odds into Barnes & Noble on October 21st, next week. Go out and buy it. But when I first started in the writing, I really wanted to get better at what I was doing. I kind of knew how to tell a story, and I read a lot, so I knew basically how a book worked. But you don't know what you don't know. And so I wrote a bunch of books under a pen name. And one of them happened to be included in a bundle, and the bundle took off, and it sold, I want to say, a couple of thousand copies in the first week. And if you sell in the right places at the right time, then you hit those numbers. So it's more about, like, if you just sell books on Amazon, you're not going to hit any of those lists. But if you sell 500 books on Amazon and 500 books at barnesandnoble.com and 500 books on Apple, then you hit those lists. And it's the ebooks, obviously, but I'm not going to differentiate between it. USA Today bestseller is USA Today bestseller.
Hey, take it, absolutely. Well, I mean, in most books today, people buy our ebooks.
Yeah, there is a huge resurgence of print, which is nice. There is some science behind people remembering the books that they've read in print form more than they remember ebook form, having to do with tactile sensation. But yeah, the vast majority of my books I sell are ebooks. I've sold a few 100,000 books at this point with Against All Odds, and the vast majority of that is ebooks.
Now, you said you did a lot of this by trial and error. So are you a trained author or?
Well, I mean, trained in the sense that I have been reading since I was knee high to a grasshopper. And I wanted to be a writer growing up. The only thing that stopped me from doing this a lot earlier in life was I'm dyslexic.
Oh.
And I didn't know I was dyslexic until I was in my 40s.
Oh,
I just thought I was stupid and couldn't figure out how to spell.
I had that same issue. I didn't know I was autistic till I was in my 30s.
Well, yeah, right. And so, I mean, especially with dyslexia and to some degree autism, it really requires somebody else to tell you, hey, you know what? You might have this thing wrong with you, because you're never going to notice, because to you, it's just you. You're just you. And so
I grew up being told I was a problem child.
yeah, well, I got that too, but it was the ADHD for me, not the autism. It was the inability to sit still, and I was always bored in school. And
Yeah,
I thought
I
was
have the
bad at school.
ADHD with autism.
Oh, that sounds rough. And so when I learned I had dyslexia, I learned some coping mechanisms, and all of a sudden my writing got a lot better.
Okay. All right. So I was going to say, yeah, did you have to retrain?
Yeah, it sounds weird, but you've got to write in certain specific fonts, and you've got to write with like a colored background. So I write in Word, and I have like a mauve background, and I write, and anybody who knows fonts is going to this is going to drive them crazy. I write in Comic Sans. And
Me too.
And the thing is with Comic Sans is each letter is unique. So the line on the P, right? The line on the P does not mimic the line on the B, right? So these two lines are different. So your brain never has an opportunity to just pretend they're all the same. And so you get a unique font like that. And there's a couple that do it. There's like Open Dyslexic, and there's a few other fonts that do it. But my personal favorite is Comic Sans. It does it the best for me. Your mileage may vary. But yeah, then I started writing, and I started selling short stories to an editor in England who was putting them in anthologies. And then I wrote at the behest of my wonderful, beautiful wife, who said, hey, if he's making money off of your short stories, maybe you should just cut the middleman out and do it yourself. And so I wrote a urban fantasy trilogy and submitted it to a publisher, and they snapped it right up, and it bombed. After the first one did great, the other two bombed. And I learned a lot doing that. Like I said, you don't know what you don't know. And I try really hard to learn from both my failures and my successes to see what works.
That's the only way you learn.
Yeah, that's the only way you learn. And Wendell's jumping up and down the chat here, and I apologize in advance. He wants to know if you're kin to Eddie Haskell. So,
I have not gotten that question since I was in the Army in 1995.
And you shot that guy promptly for asking, right?
Every Haskell is related, but I'm pretty sure Eddie was fictional. So,
okay.
But I usually got is your older brother Eddie, or do you have a brother named Eddie? And good, that's great, Wendell. It's nice to hear that, because I heard that my whole life growing up until I was about 30, and then people, stopped remembering Leave It to Beaver. So,
yep, we're showing our age by saying stuff like that. So, well, growing up, you said you read a lot. What did you read growing up? Were you a comic book person?
Oh, I love comic books. I love science fiction. I love military sci-fi. Now, when I was growing up, they didn't really have a lot of the subgenres they have today. Like, they didn't really call it military science fiction. It was just science fiction, and there were military people in it, like Starship Troopers and Ender's Game. It wasn't really military sci-fi, I think, until like the mid-2000s, early 2000s maybe. And a lot of that was due to David Weber, who I'm a huge fan of, and I read all of his stuff. I love that man. And he's, personally just a great guy. But I mean, Ben Bova, Orson Scott Card, Isaac Asimov. I read all the robot books and all the Caves of Steel and all his anthologies about iRobot and the laws of robotics. And I've read, most of Heinlein's work. I stopped shortly after Stranger from a Strange Land. I just sort of enjoyed the stuff that he wrote before that. And then, everything I can get my hands on. I grew up on an island in Alaska, and so there wasn't a lot to do, and so I spent most of my time at the library.
Okay, that's pretty remote up there. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah, town of 3,000.
Yeah, I was watching some of the weather here lately, and they've been getting hammered up there. And
yeah, not where I was from, but yeah, far north. Yeah, apparently there's been some bad floods.
Yeah, I saw it on the news, and it was pretty devastating. I didn't actually claim my geography. I didn't know all those islands were ours.
The Islands? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I started following some of the weather stuff, and I saw here recently with the typhoon going through. I was like, "Holy cow!" That's so. Where are you now, if I could ask?
I live in West Jordan, Utah.
Oh, okay.
So I get around. When I was in the Army, I lived in 8 different states, and I've probably lived in like 15 or 16 different states in my life, and this is just where I am now.
Okay. Well, hey, it's a good place to be. Yeah, there's worse places. West Virginia.
I really like it. The weather's pretty good here. It doesn't get obscenely hot like it did in Idaho, and people are great, so I like it here.
Yeah, you don't get much snow there, though, do you?
I've only lived here 2 years, and not yet, but I'm fingers crossed.
Okay. If you love snow, go to Vermont. It's already snowing in Vermont. Well,
actually, yeah, I do love the snow though, but we'll see what happens this year.
So out of everybody growing up, who is your favorite? Well, not your favorite necessarily, but who did you style yourself after?
Definitely a mix of David Weber and Robert Heinlein. I just, Starship Troopers, like a lot of guys of my age, Starship Troopers is why we joined the military. And David Weber writes such amazing, fantastic fleet work that when I finished reading his books, I really wanted more books that were like his, and there just weren't any. And and there are a lot more fleet science fiction now, but I really wanted like not just like, oh, they're in a ship, but like the nitty gritty, the everyday, the ships to be real, and the Navy to feel real. And you only get that by doing a lot of really in-depth research and by really focusing on the military aspect of it. So while I love Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica and Robotech and Space Battleship Yamato, those are all influences. David's probably my biggest influence on what I write, and Heinlein's probably my biggest influence on how I write.
Okay. So you do like the nitty gritty of the way the inner workings are, how the sausage is made, so to speak. Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely. The behind the scenes stuff is if I can teach you while I'm entertaining you, love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not everybody can be the hero flying the Top Gun jet, so there's a million people behind them. And a lot of people
one of my characters, one of my main characters, or not one of my main characters, I only got one main character, but one of the characters who's in the books a lot is a cook. He's the ship's cook. And, sometimes stuff happens and he happens to be there. I show stuff from the perspective of the Marines and people in engineering. It's not just like, oh, here's the captain and he's doing everything. Oftentimes at the end of the books, when they're going into a battle, one of his laments is that for Jacob T. Grimm is that he's basically at the end of the day, when the battle starts, there isn't really anything for him to do. He doesn't operate the equipment. He doesn't run the ship. He just gives the orders, and the people with actual skills and knowledge of how to do that stuff, they push all the buttons.
Interesting. And how do you get from the order to the execution? How do you find that difficult in writing that? In other words, you got to go take this hill. How do you get from point A to point B?
Well, there's a natural flow to a scene, and you don't have to always show every little, bit and piece, but there's a natural flow to scenes. And I try to combine both like realism, like this is realistically how people behave and how the ship runs and how the military behaves. And also temper that with, I also need to be entertaining. So you don't show the people walking down the hallways or, getting their boots on. Well, sometimes I do, but so like if, for instance, in the space battles, it's a lot of like, okay, they're coming at each other. They know they're coming at each other. They know there's going to be a battle. That's tension. And we build up on that. And so I will change, it's in third person. So I will change perspectives from Jacob to the cook or the guys in engineering or one of the weapons officers in the turrets, and you get to see a perspective of that fight that you don't normally get to see in both movies and books. And I took a lot of influence from a lot of memoirs I read about World War II and how the guys down in engineering and the destroyers, like in the Battle at Leyte Gulf, there was a couple of destroyers that got really like in a thick battle, and it didn't last particularly long. And at one point, one of the engineers had come up to get something and looked around the deck, and like there brass everywhere and bullet holes everywhere and smoke. And he's like, "Oh, we were in a battle," diesel engines are down there super loud. He couldn't hear anything. He couldn't feel the ship shaking because the engines are going. And sometimes that's how battles are. They're quick, and not everybody even knows that they're in a battle. And so I try to like build on that realism and build on that tension and show the different perspectives of all the different parts of the crew. So you really get a nice broad perspective of everybody and how the ship operates and what the different roles are.
Okay. Yeah, and that's true. When you said that, my grandfather was a merchant marine, and he worked in the diesels down in the engine room. And as soon as you said that, I was like, "Hey, that's true." He did tell stories about it. He didn't remember half the stuff because he was down below and never knew. So
yeah, absolutely, and it's really a remarkable generation of people who fought World War II. Both the greatest generation and the silent generation, or the generation before them. Not the silent generations after them, but the things that they did and the stories they told, it's so rich, full of opportunity to tell stories, and base it off of stuff that they did. And I do that a lot. I take history, both recent and ancient, and I try to what happens if this was in space? I've got a book where I basically took Horatius at the bridge, and I was like, well, what if this was in space? What if Horatius was a ship's captain? How would that work? And stuff like that.
it's true. The Space Force is coming up. Let's see, Chris and Wendell. I will get to your question. Chris says when Jeffrey was a bigger 70 version of Battlestar Galactica, or the latter. So,
well, this will answer that question very easily. There was no remake of Battlestar Galactica. There was the 1970s version with Dirk Benedict as Faceman or as Starbuck, and that was it. He was Faceman in the 18th. However, I love the girl who played Starbuck in the new version. I'll just give her due. She was absolutely perfect, and I really disliked that remake because I felt like it cheapened the epicness of that franchise.
Sure, sometimes they rush them. So
it was a trick question. The 1970s version is the only correct answer, and you, sir, are correct. That show had a big impact on me. I watched it as a kid. I never understood why it didn't run longer until I found out later on in life that it wasn't that it had nothing to do with ratings and everything to do with just the amount of money they were putting into it. The ratings were actually really, really good. But that was a great show, and Dirk Benedict played Starbuck, and he was very much a Han Solo kind of character, and I just he had a big impact on me with that character as well. I always have like a face man kind of character in my stories.
So you mentioned Star Wars. Are you a Star Wars fan too?
I am, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there really isn't any science fiction that I can think of that I don't like, as long as science fiction made by people who like science fiction and enjoy the genre. A lot of science fiction in the last few years, some of it has been made by people who don't really like science fiction and don't really like science fiction fans. So I didn't care for that too much. But yeah, I love all the Star Wars. I was really happy and excited to watch the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. It's such a shame that they didn't do any more seasons after the second one. Yes. And it's a recurring theme with me. And then, obviously Star Trek, huge fan of Star Trek. James T. Kirk, Jacob T. Grimm, very...
Yes, Wendell, Spaceballs.
Yes, I love Spaceballs. Yeah, Spaceballs was great. They love science fiction. I mean, it was a parody from beginning to end, but they love science fiction.
It was entertaining as well. So that was...
Galaxy Quest is one of the best science fictions ever made, and it was a parody.
So what is your opinion on Spaceballs, the second part coming out?
I'm pretty excited for it. I mean, I'm
hoping they get it filmed before he passes away.
Yeah, I hope they're able to do it right. I'm so sorry. I got a call and I just hung up on them.
We're kind of a big deal. So.
You are a big deal. You were taking your time out of your day to talk to me about my book. You are a big deal.
Oh, you are the big deal to us. And so you've already gotten how many? You're 9 books in? Did I read that right?
The 8th book is out. I'm working on the 9th book.
Okay, gotcha.
So Grimm's Legacy came out this year, a couple months back, and it's probably one of my most well-reviewed books, and people really, really loved it. And I don't do anything new. I know a lot of people like to talk about how unique they are and how their muse is so different than everybody else. I don't really do anything new. I love the military. I love military science fiction. I love heroes. I love people fighting against impossible odds and maintaining their honor and courage and all that stuff. And I like people overcoming, problems to do the right thing. And so kind of all my books kind of follow the same sort of pattern. And it's just, different kinds of adventures, different types of adventures that they go on. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be like, okay, I have this thing I have to do. It's going to be really dangerous. And I could make a decision to go left, but I really need to go right. So we're going to go right. And, not really, I'm not breaking any new ground on what I do. I just do it the way I like it. And at the end of the day, all you have that's unique is just how you tell a story.
Absolutely. Is each one set individually, or is one thing? And I hope I don't offend you with saying this, but like Harry Turtledove, I don't know if you follow him.
Oh, yeah, I know who he is. Yeah,
love his stuff. But gosh,
he actually signed with my publisher recently.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I hope I can get him because I'm a huge fan of his work. He's getting up there in age, though.
He is. He's still a fantastic writer.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The only thing I don't like is I feel committed to work because half of these books back here is,
Well, I write in such a way that I won't say all of the books are standalone. The vast majority of them are. I have 2 books that are. It was just a really big story. I got into writing it. I got into writing the story, and I thought I was going to be able to write it in one book. And I got to a good stopping place around 120,000 words. And I was like, okay, I could keep writing this until basically the second part of the story and then turn in, a 250,000 word book when all my other books have been 120 or 100 or so. Or I could break it into 2 parts. And I felt bad about that, but I made it really clear at the end, like, the next part's coming. This was intentional. I didn't leave it at a cliffhanger. The story of that book is resolved. Now there's another story that takes place in the same exact system far away from the main character's home system. And, but yeah, they're all standalone. You read it against all odds. You read with Grimm Resolve, obviously read them in order. I mean, don't pick up book 5 and just start reading it. You won't like it, but each individual story is self-contained. And then there's an overall arc about this war that they're involved in, Grimm's war, that, it takes a little while for the war to actually start. I think it starts officially in like book 4. And, this book that I'm writing now is probably going to be the end of the war. And the other stuff is happening because I have some of my characters are politicians. I have galactic politics involved. There's very much a lot of behind the scenes wheeling and dealing, trying to, bolster the Navy or, get their, one politician wants his planet to be building these ships, and another politician, thinks we should have an alliance with these people, not be at war with them, and because they don't really understand that culture. And so I try to keep it realistic in that there's military characters, there's political characters, there's civilians, and I try to have a nice broad spectrum of perspectives for people to draw upon. And some of the characters are not good people. They're not people I would ever associate with and share no ideas with. But it's hard to tell a story without villains or bad people without it seeming like you're cherry picking everything. So yeah, so there's a lot of that. Yeah.
Well, when did for a jumping on point, when did he make the bad decision and shoot down the wrong ship? Was that
and Against All Odds? It's right in the beginning. Yeah. It's the very first thing that happens. The book opens with Lieutenant Grimm. Ships have bridges. On the bridge of a ship, there's watches, and different officers and different people are the officer of the watch at different times. And he's the officer of the watch when this ambush happens. And it's one of those situations where, and we've all been in this situation, he does everything right, and he's still blamed for everything that happened, even though he did everything right, and none of it was his fault. But he still gets the blame, and he still has to live with the stigma of what happened, without spoiling it. Because it's right in the beginning.
Yeah. Oh no, I feel you. I was paramedic, been there, done that. So.
Yeah, you can do everything right, and the person still dies. You can do everything right, and you still lose the battle. One of my favorite lines of any movie ever was in Endgame when Thanos said, talking to Loki about how, like, you're right, but nothing you do will change that you're going to lose. And, it's profound. It's one of those things that as an adult that nobody prepares you for, because you're always thinking, oh, if I do everything right, everything will work. And that's just not how the world works.
No, it's not 1950s Ward Cleaver. So, or leave it.
Nice callback.
No. Yeah, but people of my age group, that's what we grew up thinking, and then like you said, you get out there in the real world and there's no book for this.
And I'm
trying
when I was a kid,
teach my son that now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I worked with my kids on this too. You take the world as it is and you try to make it better, but you take it as it is. You don't take it as some other thing that you imagine it is. And when I was a kid, I watched things like To Hell and Back and Run Silent, Run Deep. And those were movies about World War II written by, starring, and directed by World War II veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see World War II movies today and I see the soldiers and they're all swearing and, nasty and this and that, I'm thinking like, okay, you are 70 years removed from this event. And you're looking back at it and you're saying, this is how the soldiers were. And then you go to the guys.
Don't forget his question.
Yeah, and then you go to the guys who were actually there, and it's like wildly different. So I try to make the characters behave in a realistic way and kind of represent that.
Yes, you should. And all right, well, let me ask. Wendell is wanting to know, when you lived in Alaska, did you ever have any experience with Bigfoot?
I am not. I have an unpopular opinion about Bigfoot. As much as I wish the Loch Ness Monster was real, much as I wish it was, and all these other things, is because it's amazing how the pictures stopped as soon as everybody was carrying an HD camera around in their pocket. And, I have been in the woods before. I have dealt with bears and wolves in Alaska. It is really easy, especially at night, to get absolutely turned around and terrified in those woods. But no, I've never had an experience with a Bigfoot. I've had an experience with a grizzly bear, about 800 pounds, walking out of the woods about 20 feet in front of me. Scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. Here in the South, we have black bears. We don't have grizzlies.
They can be dangerous.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, so did the grizzly go its way and you went your? How did or did you have to...
She looked at me and then she crossed the street and all the cars had to stop because she was 800 pounds. If you hit her, you're going to wreck your car. And I was just like, the whole time I was walking home, it was a beautiful day out. I was like, I'll walk home from work. And I never walked home again.
My son moved to Vermont and he had no idea how big the moose were until they were in his backyard.
Moose are huge.
Yes.
Well, that's like here in Ohio. Well, in Ohio, the deer walk up to your front door.
Yeah, I do miss that about Alaska. There's a lot of great wildlife in Alaska. Polar bears, grizzly bears, wolves. The sea life. We'd see whales every year, dolphins, killer whales, seals. The fishing was great.
Oh,
but at the end of the day, Alaska's really hard to live in, and I just couldn't stay there.
It's dark there for what, like 3 months out of the year or something?
Depending on where you live, it can be dark for longer. But at the very,
it's not bad for you.
At the very least, 5 months out of the year, even in Southeast Alaska, is way dark. But the further north you go, like if you go above the Arctic Circle, it's dark for 6 months out of the year. So
doesn't that
like
dark?
The sun never comes up.
Wow.
When I was stationed at Fort Richardson, we actually had special blinds on our windows because we had to have blackout curtains because the sun would be up all day long, every day. It would never go down. And people would just run themselves ragged because they would forget to sleep. So it's the weather, the lighting up there can be very detrimental to your health.
Chris says, I always knew walking was bad for you.
I said it wasn't bad for him.
Well, it's only bad if you run into grizzly bears, I guess. Yeah, I don't know how I would deal with that because the situation, or is it seasonal affliction, or where the sunlight, if you get too much darkness during the winter.
Seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, during the winter, I always seem to have a problem. It's like, I wish it was light more. So I don't think I could deal with that.
Well,
I get seasonal depression.
When I got married, we ended up buying a lot of sun lamps to help offset it, but it was still pretty hard.
I can imagine. Yeah. So using any of your experiences like that growing up, did you put them in your book or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everything I write is pieces of me.
Okay.
You know, I spent, a bunch of time in the Army, and a lot of that's in there, and how I interacted with different officers. I was enlisted, and the way I interacted with officers and sergeants and stuff like that, that's all in there. Plus, stories I've read, both science fiction, fiction, and nonfiction, and movies I've seen. It's all these pieces of me are in my stories, and I try to find the best fit for the story I'm working on. And every story has a theme, and sometimes I can find a story that happened to me, and I'm like, okay, great, I can really put this in here because I feel this and I've done this. Or I can go to somebody else and be like, okay, I've got friends from the military who've done really amazing, incredible things. I was just a commo guy. I really didn't do anything all that amazing. But I've got friends who were special forces, and I got friends who were rangers, and they tell me these stories that they did, and I try to put stuff like that in there, little touches of realism that if you were in the military, or if you've watched enough military movies or talked to anybody who's in the military, you'll see little bits and pieces and go, oh, wow, that's really authentic, even though it's 1,000 years in the future on a spaceship.
All right. So you have some stories of being buried underground in Area 51 and dealing with the Greys.
I don't have any aliens in my in this particular book series. It's all humans because, humans are pretty good at being horrible to each other. I did write a book series that my first major big book series that came out. It's not as big as Grimm's War. Grimm's War is huge. Grimm's War is beyond huge. But I wrote a series called Arsenal, the Full Metal Superhero long before I did this one. And that one has aliens in it and supernatural stuff. And Area 51. And there is a particular alien species in that series that was a lot of fun to write. I kind of made them responsible for a lot of the stories that we know of today.
Okay. Do you think they exist, by the way?
Aliens?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's mathematically impossible for them not to.
I agree.
Whether they visited here or not, that is up for debate. But
hey, they could be coming on this interstellar comet now.
You can't debate that they exist. Because it is there's a probably 0.0 to the 10th power 1% chance that they don't, but it seems really unlikely, especially after James Webb came out.
Yes,
and it showed like they took that little thumbnail, like the size of the galaxy, the picture of the size of the galaxy from the thumb, and then they blew it up with James Webb, and where they thought there were maybe a dozen galaxies in that section. Once they flipped the filter on for James Webb, they saw hundreds, if not thousands of galaxies, and in a portion of the sky no bigger than your thumb. And so it is, in my mind, impossible that aliens don't exist. There have to be aliens. There have to be people on other worlds. What they are, who they are, what they look like, if they visit
My
us.
philosophy is they sit in their spaceship and they watch us, like on The Simpsons when the aliens are watching them and laughing. That's what they do to us.
I, for one, welcome our new alien overlords. I said there were no aliens in Grimm's War, but that's kind of not true. There are no aliens. Do not play a part in the series, and there's no speaking aliens. There's no formal alien alliance. At one point, I don't want to spoil it, but at one point, one of the least likely character that you would ever imagine making first contact makes first contact and then doesn't report it because she thought it was kind of cool and didn't want to say anything, and didn't know if anybody would believe her anyway. So, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, yeah, somewhere there's that little private that's had that same experience. So.
That didn't say nothing because they thought they'd be perceived as being crazy.
See, that's why Wendell could never tell us about his Bigfoot experience because it was the gay Bigfoot that found him.
You know, Wendell, one of my favorite movies, I could quote it beginning to end, is Aliens, James Cameron's Aliens. And there's that scene, and this is directed at Wendell. There's that scene where Ripley is like, Brooke, I don't know who's worst. You don't see them effing each other over for a percentage point. And, this is 100% true. At the same time, she's surrounded by all these Marines who are willing to give their lives so she can get out, and escape. And so it's like the great duality there of here's this guy who is just the worst scum of the earth. And then here's all these people who are regular people. I mean, they're Marines, obviously, so they're highly skilled, highly trained, highly motivated, but they're doing an impossible job. And it's because it's their duty, not because, they're like motivated to do this one job. Yeah, we're motivated to do it. No, it's about survival, but it's also their duty. And that had a huge impact on me when I was a kid watching that movie.
And having not served in the military, but in public safety, I respect that because sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do, but you have to do them. And sometimes you're the good guy, sometimes you're the bad guy. And yeah, I could absolutely agree with that. And well, I think for the people that are the bad humanity, we'll send them with the aliens. We don't want to keep them. So, of course, we may be the prisoner island where they've dumped all the bad people off in the galaxy.
I've read that book.
Yes. So, have you followed any of this stuff, by the way, just off the cuff here, the 3-Eye Atlas, the comet that's coming?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
It's really fascinating. I'm a science fiction author. Some people call me a hard sci-fi author because a lot of my stuff is very principled in scientific theory. I have a few tiny hand wavium things, but for the most part, even the FTL is based on stuff that is theoretically possible and prevalent. Was it last year, or the year before, where that rock came in and then took a left turn at Albuquerque, going super fast. There's points in space called gravity manifolds, and they exist in solar systems in between planets. And like when we send probes up or we go to other planets, we do these things called gravity assist, where we take some of the gravity, we take some of the inertia from a planet, and we use it on a rocket, and it goes faster. Well, there's these points in space with these gravity manifolds that can accelerate ships incredibly fast. And I think that's what's happening is these things that are coming into our solar system are hitting these gravity manifolds. And it just so happens that we happen to have a couple, one right after the other. If they're spaceships or there's aliens on them, I've yet to see anything that says that. But again, they have to exist. And it's entirely possible that if you have the technology to get here, you also have the technology to mask that you're here. So why not have your ship look like an asteroid?
Well, they said today I read an article, the European Space Agency released the most recent photos. The tail on the comet has moved around to facing the sun, which is the exact opposite of what they're supposed to do. And so the guy that was writing this, he obviously was embellishing some, but he said, how do we know that that's not some kind of shield to keep them from, because if you get too close to it, it's obviously, if you know anything about science, it's the water and the gases and it's going to pop. How do we know that they didn't turn that as a shield?
Well,
that's a good point.
It's pretty odd that it turned too, because usually if it was turning, it would keep turning. Mm-hmm. So, because things in motion tend to stay in motion, basic laws of physics. So that is pretty interesting.
Yeah. So, they can almost explain some of the other weird things it's done, but they were like, it's changed colors after it went through the solar storm, and they're like, okay, it's just going to be the gases. And then now they've said today that it's spewing water like a fire hydrant, which is not typical. And then when they said the tail changed, it was like,
Well, like Harley said, if there are aliens in orbit and they're watching us and laughing and they happen to see this podcast, I want to believe. Help us out.
Me too.
Help us out.
Me too. I don't want any Whitney. What was it? Whitney Stryber? Gosh, what was his name? The one that wrote Communion. I don't want any interactions like that. So I don't know if you ever read that.
I would think, I don't think that aliens are going to be any more benevolent or warlike than we are, because I don't think that there is any force of evolution that would create a species of people who weren't fighting. because evolution is about fighting. You're fighting for survival. And at the point where you get to the place where you don't necessarily have to individually fight for survival, your evolution is set. So you're not going to evolve beyond what you are. And if you have any doubt about that, you just need to look at what happened in New Orleans 7 days after Katrina. You know, so I don't think there's going to be any aliens who are these, wonderfully benevolent, advanced civilization that have evolved past violence like Hollywood likes to do. I also don't think there's going to be any aliens that are like Klingons and they're going to come in here and they're going to be brutal and warlike, because you would have a really hard time maintaining a civilization with advanced space travel when you're nuking each other into oblivion. I think the most likely scenario is that there are aliens that are more technologically advanced than us, and if they are here, we'll never know it because they don't want us to know that they're here.
Absolutely.
And if they're doing something, if they're studying us or studying the planet or whatever, or it's an intergalactic tourism thing, they'll tell us when they're ready. I
Honestly think they've been here all along and they look just like us and we don't know that.
It's entirely possible. And, I do have a hard time with like the alien ships crashing theory, because I understand the math about how far away we are from everything else and the technology required to get here. And
I mean, because look at the TV show, Our Resident Alien. He was I love that show.
I
mean, I know it's a comedy, but he still looked like the human, and nobody knew he was an alien until he
revealed himself. Yeah.
kind of showed himself. Except that little boy. That little boy could see him.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, and I kind of feel like if they have the technology to get here, they're probably not going to crash the moment they're here. We fly planes all around the world and they rarely crash.
Wait a minute. There was Gomer Pyle now. Come on. There's that one guy. No, I agree with you. If they had the technology to get that far, I really don't think we would have the technology to shoot it down. I mean, maybe we got lucky, but
if they can manipulate gravity, then nothing we can throw at them could possibly knock them out of the sky. I don't think they're going to run into any mountains.
No, I agree with you there. So not unless
spaceships probably go through the mountain and without even crashing.
Unless it was the drunk party aliens, maybe they did it. But my only thought
is entirely possible.
Well,
again,
yeah.
I don't think they're going to be that wildly different than us. So it's entirely possible you have the mystery.
And Wendell, if they came for me and Glenn, they'd bring us back.
Yeah, they kicked me out.
They wouldn't keep us very long.
No, I'm already a misfit. But yeah, you're right. There could be the misfits. But if this 3-eye Atlas is coming, these are probably some really badass misfits if they've made it this far. So I don't know that we should mess with them. That one scientist was saying we should send signals out, and I'm thinking to myself, no, we probably shouldn't.
It's not like artistically the best movie ever, but have you ever seen Battleship?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I really enjoy that movie. It is not a good movie. I am not saying it's a good movie. I'm just saying it's an enjoyable movie. And that whole movie starts with them sending that signal into space faster than light, and the one scientist saying, like, "Is this really a good idea? Do we really want to be broadcasting our location?" And sure enough, 4 years later, aliens come and attack.
Yep, exactly. Wendell says that guy was telling that guy that was telling about them in the congressional investigation said there are 89 different species that they know of. But he could. I've got some people that work for 3-letter agencies that have told me that there's different numbers too. I don't know.
Well, people say a lot of things in front of Congress, and very little of it's true.
And they get paid really well and don't mean half of it. So.
Then they get to go on and write a book about it, and now they're famous.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So, hey, wait a minute. Are there cats in space?
There are no pets allowed on the ship, but I keep meaning to write a story with a dog. I was thinking, I was watching a documentary about canine units, and I was thinking, man, they should have a canine unit on Interceptor. That could be pretty cool. I could do that. But I can't quite figure out how to make it work in an enclosed environment like a spaceship, where you are sometimes months without touching ground or being out in the open sky. I'm not sure how an animal would appreciate that.
Oh, remember the
There's a
first Coast
special
Guard?
grass area for the dog, and like their poop and pee disintegrates.
Well, that's
into
that's
the-
another thing too. Is space is at a premium on ships, and
Yeah.
there's not a lot of extra room to do stuff. But
True.
it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm gonna do it at some point. They're gonna have a canine unit. I've done special forces. I've done the Marines. I've done these little the mechs. They're not quite mechs, but they're like power suit mechs. I think a canine unit would be pretty cool.
Somebody sent me a video of a police feline unit. It was AI, but it was hilarious. The police officer's got the cat on a leash. He's like, "All right, get him." His cat just tore this guy up.
Cats are pretty smart. I've seen a lot of videos here lately of cats that protect their human. Like there's been bears that came on the porch and the cat attacked the bear.
I actually just read a story on my radio show the other day of a cat that dialed 911 when its owner, who was physically incapacitated, he fell out of his wheelchair, couldn't get to his phone, and he had always been trying to train his cat to push the one button on the front of his phone. Lo and behold, 14 years later, he falls out of his wheelchair. The cat pushed the button.
Nice. I like it.
It's like,
Cats are intelligent.
like who would have believed that? But yeah, so, I'm sorry, we have digressed totally.
No, I'm happy to talk about all things wild and crazy.
Well, I mean, but yeah, you're right. Putting an animal in space, your premium obviously is on the stuff because my dad was on a aircraft carrier, and even there it was tight.
Yeah, absolutely. And when they go into combat, they drain their atmosphere, so there's no explosive decompression. So the dog would need to be put into a suit. It seems like that might be hard to train them to be inside a spacesuit. So
Well,
stuff I
they're
have to think
space
about.
bud.
Yeah, little more. I'm a little more on the hard sci-fi than Space Bud.
Yeah, that would be an issue. Yeah, getting them in the suits and yeah, that would be
Making the
good.
plumbing attachments.
Yes, yes.
Training them to deal with zero G, that kind of thing.
Well, I'm sure our government has spent many dollars learning how to do that. Well, they have them parachute now with the special forces.
I saw that.
Didn't they send a
the
monkey
Halo,
into
though.
space?
Well, yeah, there's a difference between like putting a monkey inside of a capsule and shooting it up in space and having it come down than having it live and work on a spaceship for months at a time.
We killed most of those monkeys.
And a lot of those monkeys died for other reasons. But it's definitely something I got in my subconscious that I'd like to do at some point. Because I love dogs, and dogs are a huge part of the military. The canine units, date back a long time, and they are every bit as heroic as the men and women who fight in the military. So
I recently had a guest and was telling me some of the things that the Israeli forces are doing with their dogs. I was totally blown away. I mean, they were like sending them in parachuted by themselves on missions. And I was like, that is just crazy. They would send them into areas where they would parachute them in with cameras. Basically, they were
that's a cool idea, because who's going to think about a dog being a spy?
Exactly. Yeah. And
I wouldn't have thought of that. That's a great. Israel does a lot of really kind of amazing things with their military, and they kind of have to.
Yeah,
they're outnumbered. They're a sliver of a land surrounded by everybody who wants to kill them. So
yes.
Cool.
Jeff Wendell asked if you watch Glenn's podcast.
I haven't, but I'm planning on it because I'm really enjoying this experience, and I don't always know what I'm getting into when I go on people's shows, but I really like this one, so I'm definitely.
I sarcastically, when I introduced you, I went through and read your bio because recently I had a guest on, and I don't guess she was ready for us, where we might just ask you about your cat, or whatever. And her agent sent me a nasty gram telling me you didn't introduce her, you didn't tell her where they get their stuff. Well, I'm like, it's not my job to sell your book, So I was like, sorry if I offended you.
I'm an extrovert, so I'm happy I'm just happy to be on the show, man. I have no problem talking about my book or bringing a discussion back around to Against All Odds, but it's also kind of obnoxious to when authors are like, you're like, so what did you do this weekend? You're like, well, I was reading my book. You know, if it's organic, I'll go there. If it's not, I won't. I'm happy to talk about Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and World of Warcraft and Spider-Man all day long. Just ask my wife.
And that's what we do here. We start out on a mission. We want you to sell your book, and we want you to sell lots of your books and come back. But if we veer off on cats or Spider-Man, or it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I was on a interview the other day. It was 20 fast minutes, and the guy knew more about Star Trek than I did, which is kind of a feat. And all he wanted to do was talk about the original Star Trek in different episodes, and I was fine with that. I love talking about Star Trek. So it was a blast. So yeah, you guys ask whatever questions you want.
Hey, well, Star Trek, they're coming out with a new one, aren't they? Or is it already out?
I don't believe that they've come out with a new Star Trek series in years.
I was thinking I saw Paramount was coming out with something.
Yeah, they have one coming out
I thought
called
they were
Starfleet Academy.
Okay. So they had that cartoon version that
Lower Decks.
Yeah. I watched a few of that and tuned that one out. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of that one.
I am not a fan of mocking the things that I love. And that's what that show is. It mocks Star Trek.
Well, I kind of did that with Doctor Who when they started getting really weird.
Yeah. If you want to write science fiction because you love science fiction, do it. If you want to write science fiction because you can't stand the people who read it and you want to make fun of them, please stay out of my genre.
Yeah,
not need it.
I don't think it's so many books that way either. So
yeah, you're not going to sell books that way. But the only way they are able to ever do that is with TV shows and movies, because the people who write them are in that system, and so they get to go into big IPs like Star Trek and Star Wars and ruin them for everybody else.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll stay out of some of them. I'm like you were talking about earlier, doing remakes on things. A lot of the original stuff is just hard to redo. I mean, we get better graphics, but
we got cycles, right? Things ebb and flow, and there's backlash, against stuff. And one of the best movies I've seen in a long time came out this year, F1. I don't know if you've got to see that or not, but what a masterpiece of storytelling. F1 with Brad Pitt, masterpiece of storytelling. And like watching that movie, I was like, okay, there is hope for the future. People are still making good movies, And I just think it comes and goes in cycles. You get a decade like from 2010 to 2020 that was just amazing movie after amazing movie after amazing movie, and then you get a few years where everything sucks. And writing's the same way. You get people who you have all these trends in writing, and you get all of a sudden inundated with Academy romance or Taken by the Alien or whatever nonsense is selling on like gangbusters on Amazon, and you just have to endure it and move through it and know that everything has a season and it's just not going to last. The things that endure, the things that last, are the traditional genres: science fiction, fantasy, epic fantasy, sword and sorcery, military sci-fi. They're not always selling that great, but they're always there, and you're always going to have people who will read.
Absolutely.
Wendell says it's funny that William Shatner never learned to talk like a normal person, a real person.
Well, having watched almost everything he's ever been in, I disagree with that, but everybody has their own opinion.
I was going to say, except for, I won't go into the 911 call, but
I love Independence Day.
Yes, Independence Day, I did too.
Yeah, me and my kids watch it every Independence Day.
It was a great movie. I liked and then what was the other Will Smith movie?
Oh, Men in Black.
Men in Black. Loved it. Whoa. Well, there we go. We start talking about aliens. We get wiped off the screen.
That was weird.
No idea what happened there. Talking about it's Wendell's fault. He made fun of William Shatner.
The aliens did it.
And they were pissed.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, I have a claim to fame here.
Okay.
I follow William Shatner on X. He's very funny the guy's like 94 now, and so he's not going to be with us much longer. and he said something on X. I forget what it was, but I replied to it, and I thought it was a witty kind of thing. And he reposted it and said, "Exactly right, Jeff." And I'm like, I have made it. I am okay now. I can die. William Shatner knows who I am. We're good to go.
That's cool. Yeah, no, that is cool.
He's a very personable guy, though. Like
He really is.
interacts with his fans and everything. Like I've heard negative, but I've heard a lot more positive than negative about him.
Well, it really depends on how you approach the situation. I think he probably is over the days where people sycophant to him, and they want to talk about Star Trek or whatever. But if you come up to him like you're probably gonna be okay. My son, my oldest son is 19. And we live in Utah, and they had FanX here a couple of weeks ago. And unbeknownst to me, he took a copy of my book, stood in line for 2 hours to talk to William Shatner for a few minutes, told him the story of my book and how, greatly influenced by Star Trek. My parents got divorced when I was a kid, and I pretty much watched the original Star Trek all the time, and all the great characteristics of Captain Kirk. I feel like our characteristics of being a man, truth, honor, integrity, and stuff like that. So he gave my book to William Shatner, who signed it.
Oh, nice.
And so
I'm just
like, man, I got the best son ever. And it was really important to me. And it was great. So I like he's a great guy. I've interacted with him a couple times online and once in person, and was never disappointed.
That's good. I like to hear that. So, but you're right. There are people that probably approach him and they're like, "Oh, tell us Star Trek," and they won't leave him alone. I had a run-in with a baseball coach that was like that, and everybody would come to him and talk about baseball. He'd be like, "Go away." And we're watching a baseball game. He's sitting right here beside me. And finally, I just leaned over and said, "Hey, you want a beer?"
Celebrities get tired of being harassed.
Well,
oh man, what is?
Aliens
you ask the same questions enough, you start finding creative ways to answer them, and I imagine you get asked them enough, and you at some point you're just going to be like I had a lot of podcasts a few years ago where they just wanted me to tell how did you get into writing, and I'm like, finally got to the point where I was like, you can just Google me and you'll see some podcasts really go over in detail how I got into writing. But
it was a dolphin trainer and was bored.
Yeah. But you get asked the same questions over and over again. It does get a little tiresome.
I'm sure, and as probably as many interviews as you do.
Well, I'm not tired of the questions, but I mean, like if you're William Shatner and you're 94 years old, and Star Trek was when you were 30, over the course of 50 years or however long it's been. I can imagine hearing the same question over and over and over and over again would just get really be done with it.
But even like you said, if you just get shot the same questions, every author, it gets boring. So there's more to life than that. I like to know the little details. You got a cat. You're from Alaska. You were in the military. So you probably didn't get this out of. See, listen, you didn't get this from a lot of other shows. And that's what I like to learn.
I definitely like your conversational format more than just rapid fire questions, answer in 2 sentences, move on. I love having a conversation about this stuff.
I was trained to ask 3 questions and have 3 questions ready, and then other than that, just wing it. And it's so true, because half the time the questions will come up naturally. It won't even have to sit there and pre-script them or anything. So I often joke my dad was a country and western disc jockey, and the only thing he taught me in life was ABC. It's audition, bullshit, close. Go out there, pretend you know what you're doing, bullshit your way out of there, close it, get the hell out of there before anybody catches on. He was in the Navy. So
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I've done public speaking, and I won a couple of speech contests, and I am an extrovert, so I love talking to people. I have no problem filling the time, but I also have no problem listening. So I don't like to talk over people, so I tend to listen too. And I love the back and forth. I love talking about aliens and the possibilities. I've got my own podcast I do with a couple of science fiction authors that are friends of mine. And we talk about, what would it be like to have, infantry, close quarters infantry battles on the top of on the outside of an asteroid? What would it be like if you were invading another planet, but you didn't have logistics train? We come up with all these wild scenarios, and then we try to figure out, how would you do that? So yeah, absolutely love talking about this stuff.
Oh yeah. One of the questions I always had, we went to Mars, we landed extremely smart, intelligent, whatever you want to call it, robot there so that we could learn about Mars. How the hell did we know? Helicopter is one of the hardest things to fly. How the hell did we know how to make a helicopter fly on Mars?
It all comes down to math. It all comes down to me. Like I'm never going to use. Well, I don't think I can use math in my work because I work out all the math of the ships and stuff. I don't necessarily put it in the books, but I do work out velocity and vectors and things like that. I have to know a lot about physics and kinetic energy and at what point solids become plasmas and et cetera, et cetera. Not all of that goes in the books, but I have a basic understanding of it, and I've got a bunch of tools I use to calculate that stuff. But there are people on this planet who do not need all those tools. They can say, okay, the air density of Mars is X, the gravity is Y. How fast will the blades have to spin? How big will they have to be in order for a helicopter to fly on Mars? And they'll be able to do that math. And somebody did, and boy, what a stud. Whoever did that.
Oh yeah, agree.
A helicopter on Mars. And it flew longer and better than they ever even imagined it would.
Mm-hmm. One of my friends was in special forces, was higher ranking, and he said that people higher up than him come back from a meeting with president, and the president was getting tired of using these expensive Hellfire missiles to hit one guy. So he wanted a rocket that threw a star or a throwing star or a sword or something. And he said, you should have seen the people going, oh, hell yeah, we got this. They were going to.
You want a missile that shoots swords. Done. And the thing about that missile, that Hellfire missile, I forget the name of the variant, and it is, but it shoots 7 essentially samurai swords. The thing about that missile, the drone warfare program bothered me on a fundamental level as a former soldier and an American citizen, because I was trained to not shoot civilians. And then suddenly we had this capability where the president could be like, oh, that guy's a bad guy. Let's bomb him out of existence. What about the 75 people around him? He's a bad guy. And that never sat right with me. And then we have a president comes into office is like, hey, let's make a missile that shoots swords and just kill the target. And they've taken out a number of people with that missile in crowded places where nobody else is hurt. And I respect that.
And people just don't realize how it was the president saying exactly what you're going. He goes, I kind of got to push the button on all these people, but geez, we're killing like 10,000 extra people here. And I know we're really good at blowing shit up, but can't we just
we are exceptionally
one guy?
Yeah. And then Lockheed's like, hell yeah, Mr. President. Here's a missile that travels at Mach 2 and shoots out swords.
Yeah.
I
love it. You actually know what I'm talking about.
But it's pretty amazing because at about 20 feet from the target, the front end blows off and an explosive charge goes off in the back. It shoots those missiles, those swords down. And you have like a 100% hit ratio. And it doesn't have to be down too. It can be sideways. Like there was a guy who was standing on his balcony. Yep. And it came in sideways, And I just, politics aside, wow. I heard
this does not happen. I promise you, this does not normally happen.
It's okay. I respect the man who goes after enemy leadership, as opposed to let's just kill all the soldiers who are just following orders or doing their job or, doing what they think is best. Because going after leadership is how you end wars. Because everybody's willing to fight a war if somebody else is going to do the dying. Yep. But when they're the ones who are going to do the dying, suddenly, maybe we don't want to fight a war. And and part of our problems on this world has been dealing with people who are able to convince thousands, if not millions of other people, like, you should go fight this war for me because I think it's a good idea. And, and they're the ones who die. And then the leaders who convince them to join the war in the first place, they're just fine. So, yeah.
They get unelected. Yeah.
It's actually the premise of my next the longest battle is the idea of going after leadership because of the mass amount of casualties you'll have to do to win the war, and the alliance just is not willing to stomach the millions of people who would have to die if they fight a traditional war, and so they have to find another way to win it, because the enemy that they're fighting is willing to, with the flick of a button, murder all the civilians on a planet that they control just to keep the alliance from freeing these people.
Yeah.
And, and even though you're not technically responsible for those deaths, tell that to the people who have to who have to go there and see the bodies. And so that's the whole premise of my next book is how do you win a war when the enemy is willing to do things that are so vile and so horrible that if you continue doing it, you have no choice but to be okay with the deaths of millions of civilians.
Yeah, I actually just watched a podcast. They were talking about World War III, and they said, I don't know, maybe they said this guy was a military guy. He said, "You realize everybody keeps talking about." He goes, "But we're going to be the victims." He says, "They're going to nuke us first, and then they're going to roll through Europe." He said, "Because once we're out of the way, the whole what's it called, deck of cards is going to fall."
Well, I mean,
that makes some sense.
You can complain about the United States all you want, and people do. But would you rather have China be the world superpower or Russia be the world superpower? I mean, the United States is far from perfect, but
absolutely,
our Navy is founded on this thing called freedom of the seas. I don't know if you know this about the U.S. Navy, but one of the first things the Navy did was they went over to the Barbary States and they defeated the Islamic regimes that lived there because they were kidnapping our sailors and forcing them into slavery. And they wanted $250,000 a year in 1805 money to leave our sailors alone. And Thomas Jefferson, he met with the ambassador and he was like, "Listen, we've never had a problem. We weren't part of the Crusades. We've never had a problem with your people. Why are you doing this?" And the Barbary States were all Islamic, and they're like, "Well, you're infidels. The Quran tells us we can do this." This is all historically documented. You can read about it. It's really, really quite fascinating. And so Jefferson sent over one ship, and the captain of that ship went into a bar in Boston, I believe. And it's like, "I need some Marines," and just rounded up a bunch of 30 guys, put them in Marine coats, went to the Barbary States, and over the course of a month, deposed one guy. That's why the Marines have that saber. Shores of Tripoli. They deposed that one. They deposed one of the leaders and put his brother in charge. And all of a sudden, the Barbary States were no more because once one person stood up to them, once one country stood up to them, they all kind of fell. And that became the founding principle of the U.S. Navy, which is freedom of the seas. We have global trade as it exists today because of the U.S. Navy. Without the U.S. Navy, we do not have global trade. Even China relies on the U.S. Navy to protect their boats when they're not in the South China Sea. And without that, you'll have piracy everywhere, or Russia will decide, "I don't think anybody should be using the North Atlantic anymore. We'll just start sinking all the ships." And if they've got a Navy and you don't, what are you going to do about it? Nothing.
Yeah.
However, knowing the technology that we have in the United States, military technology that we have in the United States, the likelihood of any nuclear missiles making it to our shores are pretty limited at this point.
I agree with you, yeah. But I do admit that as far as first strike military, that's probably a good way for officers, at least higher up, to think about it so they know to protect us civilians, little people.
Well, we've got a couple of anti-missile systems that got to the point where they were 100% effective at shooting down incoming ballistic missiles. Lockheed's got their laser program. You would have to be... My personal theory on nuclear war is whoever pulls the trigger first, the entire rest of the world is going to unite against them and destroy them. because if China will nuke India, or India will nuke Pakistan, then they'll nuke anybody.
Yep.
And nobody wants to be the next person. And then we're so far removed from Nagasaki and Hiroshima that the world has collectively forgot how dangerous these weapons are. So somebody is going to use one at some point, and then the whole rest of the world is going to be like, "Oh, no, no, we're not going to do that."
Yeah, that was a bad idea. Shouldn't have done that. So, but being the superpower, I think, is the best way to be, because we set to the world the way we want it to be. May not be perfect. We elect stupid people every 4 years, but
democracy, the constitutional republic is a terrible form of government. Unfortunately, the others are all worse.
Yes, they are. So, but it's the best of what we got. Gosh, man, we have kept you over. I'm sorry for the technical glitches. It never does this. I don't know what happened.
It's totally fine. It might have been on my end. There's some weather going on here in Utah, and I'm happy to talk all night long. Like I said, I'm an extrovert. I'll chat with you about military or whatever you want to talk about. You just say the word, sir.
Well, no, and I enjoy it because you knew the story about the sword. That's great.
There's I'm going to shout out a YouTube channel. I'm not affiliated with this guy at all, but he does such great military history. It's called The Fat Electrician.
Yes.
And man, he makes military history just so amazing. So check him out, Fat Electrician on YouTube.
I would love to get him on the
Quack
show.
Bang, terrific guy.
The story, the way he tells the story about the one time the gang decided to go to war with the Rangers, that was hilarious.
Yeah, I was in Fort Lewis when that happened. I was at Fort Lewis when that happened, and it was the talk of the town. Civilians have a hard time understanding the level of discipline and dedication and training and craziness that goes into being a ranger, let alone being infantry or just being in the military in general.
Sure.
But
My husband was Air Force police.
So Rangers, how they get out? How they come down from the third floor of their barracks?
They jump
Face
out
first on a rope. Face first on a rope. You know how they get to the third floor? They climb the outside of the building. So you don't want to mess with Rangers. You really don't. As that gang learned.
No. One of the a paramedic I worked with here in Atlanta, and gosh, Joe's probably 60 something now. But he was a little short, scrawny guy, and you would never picture he was I forget 41, whatever. He was a Ranger medic, and that was his job to patch him up. But he had to do all the Ranger stuff too. And we would be training paramedics, and a lot of times EMTs, police officers would come in and take first responder training. I loved watching him when a police officer was there, because they would always underestimate him. And through the whole class, Joe would be talking shit the whole time to him, going, "Man, I can whip your ass. I could," it just little smirks here and there to get under, because civilian police is a lot different than military police or being in the military. There's some parallels, but there's not a lot of parallels, if you know what I mean. And at the end of the class, he would have them talked up to him. He says, "I bet before you can pull that gun out and shoot me, I can from across the room kill you with my pocket knife." And he would be talking all this shit the whole time. I wish Joe was watching. I would love for him to come on my channel, but he said the government would shoot him if he did. But he'd tell me, he says, "You know what? At the end of the class, he said, tell you what, I'm old. You probably can't do it. At the end of the class, I'll buy pizza if you get me. You buy pizza if I get you." And I'm over there smirking because I've seen this 10 times now. And what he doesn't tell you is he was the instructor for edged weaponry for the Rangers, aside from his medic duties. So every form of a knife, from a Schrade to a samurai sword, he knew how to kill you with. And police officers, they can't engage the way military do. There's a different engagement. And he knew this because he had trained both military and civilian police officers. And before they could get their toy gun out of their holster, he was on them like a spider monkey. it was so funny because, and he would tell him afterwards, he said, "No, let me tell you why I did this." And he would educate him. But it was always great to hear him do that as a ranger, because you would never guess this little old man can come across the room like a spider monkey and slit your throat with a pocket knife, and even at his age with all these young cops. So I loved watching it. I loved hearing the stories even more. He used to tell me I beer boarded him because we go out after class and I would get stories out of him by buying beers. I beer boarded him, but
That
yeah,
sounds awesome.
Yeah, the Rangers are the best. So, I mean, and my dad was Navy, so I hate to say that, but
Hey, Navy SEALs are great.
yeah, they are. But my dad was a disc jockey in the Navy, so I don't think he really did anything heroic. He was on an aircraft carrier. he kept
It was Air Force. Well, he's a disabled veteran for the Air Force, and my grandfather was Army.
I think everybody else in my family was Army. But yeah, I love talking to military people that know their stuff, because they don't BS you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you must have not enjoyed talking to me then, because
come on, yeah. You helped me understand how we can pilot a helicopter on Mars, which still is beyond me.
That is a modern day miracle as far as I'm concerned. That's right up there with Sully landing that plane on the Potomac. It's just a miracle.
Yep. It's funny. I was a flight medic when that happened, and I forget how often, twice a year, every other year, all pilots have to go back and go through simulators. And that was one of the things that they'd all want to try and do in the simulator. And they were like, nobody could do it. So I think he had an extra hand, I think.
He really did.
Yeah. And that's a great story. But he doesn't like telling that story. Did you know that? He hates telling that story.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, he really does. He hates telling it because everybody, especially you probably know the Air Force pilots and stuff, want to talk smack. And he's like, I don't care. I did it. I retired.
Yeah. Yeah, dude performed a miracle. He doesn't need to explain himself.
Exactly. Agreed. So, all right, Jeff, where can everybody get your stuff? You said Barnes & Noble next month.
Yeah, October 21st, Barnes & Noble. Slightly different cover. It has a white typography, and it's matte, but slightly different cover. Barnes & Noble, October 21st. If you want to buy it and you like reading, paper books, that's the way to go. If you can't wait, you want to read the ebook, Amazon and Audible have both the ebooks and the audiobooks. The audio narrator, Peter Berklot, amazing narrator. Absolutely love him. So if you got an Audible credit, you can get the first 3 books, which is about 35 hours for 1 credit. Or you can buy the ebooks as a bundle, or check them out on Kindle Unlimited. And you can go to jefferyhaskell.com and see all the books that I've got available for you to read and enjoy. Check out all the books by my wonderful, amazing publisher, Athon Books. They are probably the foremost publisher of science fiction and fantasy in the world right now. If you love science fiction and fantasy, athonbooks.com is where you want to be.
Awesome. Will you come back when the book comes out? The next one?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You say the word. You got my email. Just shoot me an email. I'm happy to come back. Even if the book isn't coming out. Hey,
well, every now and then I do that. I'll have like you've run a podcast, somebody will be sick, or, they got to wash their goldfish or something and they'll ghost you. And so every now and then I just shoot out an email to a couple people and be like, hey, I got a sudden opening if you're free. So
yeah, I'd love to.
And tell us about your podcast too. Let's hear.
It's the Military Science Fiction Podcast. Really original name. We struggled on that name. It's me, Rick Partlow, who writes Drop Trooper, which is another book that's coming out next week. Contact Front. It's military sci-fi. It's very Starship Trooper-ish. Really, really good. 16 books in the series. Huge seller. Then Josh Hayes, who writes military sci-fi, and James Aaron. And every week we talk military sci-fi stuff. Sometimes we have interviews, but mostly it's just us like coming up with a premise and then like kind of hammering it out and how would that work. And then sometimes we do writing stuff like how do you start a book and how do you make people like characters? How do you make people hate characters? How do you write action? That kind of thing.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I'll check it out. Are you on YouTube or just audio?
Yeah, just on YouTube. And I really think that I'm pretty sure we're uploaded on all the podcasts for audio only. But, obviously on YouTube, you get to look at us while we talk and see our funny expressions.
That's right. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, you were live in Australia tonight, too, on Dare Talk Radio in Australia. It's our newest affiliate. And I apologize. I should have referenced that earlier. Yes, you're live.
I love Oz. I've got a lot of friends down under. So I hope you guys down there
They
enjoy
like
it.
listening to us.
And I still haven't figured out why. So,
But yeah, Against All Odds, Grimm's War Book 1 comes out October 21st in Barnes & Noble, or you get it in ebook and audio right now on Amazon.com.
all right, awesome. And if a person wanted to get an autographed copy, how do they do that?
Yeah, I can't buy copies anymore. I used to be able to buy copies and autograph them and send them to people, and they'd pay me. But now that I'm in Barnes & Noble, the only way to get a physical paper copy is in Barnes & Noble.
Gotcha.
So if you want an autographed copy, I live in Utah. You come buy me lunch. I will sign the book for you. I do occasionally go to cons. Like I'm hoping to go to Dragon Con next year in your neck of the woods.
Oh, awesome.
And if you contact me and you're like, hey, I live this part of the country. If you're ever there, can you stop by and I can sign? And I'm happy to sign a book. Absolutely.
Okay. Cool.
You said your podcast is the Military Science Fiction Podcast?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the Asylum with Carly and Joker has just followed you.
Oh, thank you.
I'll do it afterwards. I can't push that many buttons. Obviously, I'm already making the screen go away for no reason. So
You're
Jeff,
kicking us out.
I've had enough, you guys. Get out of here. Now, Jeff, I really enjoyed it. We don't always get guests that kind of go with our flow, so I love it. So
happy. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I've been on a lot of podcasts, and this is definitely one of the best.
hopefully we'll grow and be as famous as you one day. So
I think you probably already are. I'll share it around though for sure.
all right, Jeff, have a great night. Thank you. And I guess I'll just email you and get you a date for probably after the first of the year. Is that right? You think for the next book?
Sounds great. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. And Wendell said he just went from Bigfoot 911, his show. He's just subscribed to you. So you grew 2 subscribers. I lost 2. So there you go. Jeff, have a great night. We will talk to you soon. I'll try and get you like in January or so.
Sounds great, Glenn. I look forward to it. You have a good night.
All right, man. Catch you soon. Bye.
Adios.
That was great. That was great. See, we picked up and took off from where we were before, and we did great. So, and I do enjoy the banter. I'm not one of these people. I'm going to sit there and give you the scripted questions. I'm not that guy. So, not going to. Your cat shows up on screen. I want to know about your cat. So, it's the way it is.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Harley. So, you're traveling tomorrow. When will you be back?
I'll be home tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I mean, for a show. What do you got coming up?
Saturday we have the 1950 something bracket.
Okay.
And then next Sunday we have the Last Supper for death row inmates from 2020 to present.
Okay. And of course, I will be back tomorrow with the Sportcat Daily Gazette, and I will also have a radio show tomorrow. So make sure to check that out on the Thin Line Rock Station, noon till 2. And then come over and check us out on the Dare Talk Radio X in Australia, where we will be talking daily news, weather, horoscope, who knows, whatever the hell comes up. And then next
we
week,
are in the process of trying to get a show for me and another reality show going for us.
Eventually, yeah, we just got to.
We just have to figure out one.
Yeah, and then next week I have Rick Partlow and Andrew Givler, 2 more great authors. So we have been blessed by an agent that is hooking
I have
us
an
up with
author
some
for
great
us too.
authors. Well, let's get him booked on. So we'll have to talk about the we're coming up on the holidays, so we'll have to talk about how the holiday schedule will go, because some Wednesdays run into holidays, so we don't want to have that. But yeah, we'll figure it out. All right, well, I guess we're done for the night. We've ran over on Dare Talk Radio and Radio X in Australia. Thank you for allowing us to tickle your ears. I know over there in Perth, it's 11:26 in the morning. Sydney, it's 2:29 in the afternoon. So thank you for allowing us. Lord Howe, it is 2:26 in the afternoon. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your day, your lunch. I encourage you to please come over and find us on YouTube. I could really use the love in a subscription, if I could talk. Come over and find the Sportcat shows, the Paranormal, 3 words, and then guys with a Z, or just search out the Sportcat show. So come over and give us some love. We are so close to being monetized. It would be great. So push us over the edge there. And we do have somebody that, well, we'll talk about it more, but we have some people coming up that are promoting us. So, and I'm looking forward to that. So, all right, everybody, have a great evening. If you're on the East Coast, and if you're anywhere else in the world, thank you for allowing us to tickle your ears and be a part of your day. Harley and I will see you soon. Well, Harley and I'll see you next Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow. That's Harley wants to come do the news with me. So, me and Brenda tomorrow. Everybody have a great day, great morning, great night. We'll see you soon.